Well, hello and welcome to this chat. My name is Eric Walquist. I'm the Senior Content Marketing Manager here at SUSE. I'm very excited to be joined today by Rick Spencer. He is our General Manager of Business Critical Linux at SUSE. Rick, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to spend a little time with you, Eric.
Absolutely. And today we're going to talk a little bit about SAP and a little bit about enterprise Linux. You know, a lot of enterprises leverage SUSE for their SAP implementations, but they may be leveraging a bunch of other, Linux providers for their other Linux workloads. And so we want to talk about how enterprises might be able to leverage that trust and reliability that they have in their SAP implementation across their entire Linux estate. So let's just start off by talking about SAP and why SUSE is such a good solution for SAP.
Sure. Yeah. Usually, I don't know, I have a quip for this. I like to just say simply 20 years, right? We've been working on this for 20 years. That's been a really pretty deep partnership with SAP at the core engineering level. So whenever we come out with a new version of SUSE Linux Enterprise, we immediately start working at that same day on SUSE Linux Enterprise server for SAP, and we're working with the SAP engineers to figure out like what we need to do to optimize for the upcoming functionality in SAP. And you can really see that in, the market. Almost everybody who's running, for example, the database HANA, that's the core SAP database. That's like almost all running on top of SUSE. And in fact, like a lot of people don't even realize that they're running on top of SLES for SAP. So they have a relationship with SUSE and they don't even know it sometimes.
Yeah,
Um,
SUSE might be already inside the house, and they may not
yeah,
even know it. Yeah,
SUSE's calling from inside the house. Yeah. So,
exactly.
so there's some new things that have come out with our latest service pack. We got a lot of features in there about just improved workload handling in general. We have new monitoring and management tools that are really designed to lower your TOC, especially on the operations side. See problems before they turn into problems. Pursuant to that, we have a new tool called Trento, and that is a tool that sort of applies all of our experience and best practices for running the different SAP workloads. It puts it into a tool that you can run that will then generate a report and help you like pull it into alignment with best practices. And then last, if it's okay, just like to mention we have a new feature related to OS patching that comes via SUSE Manager, and hopefully we'll get to talk a little bit about SUSE Manager later.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have all of this work that we do around SLES for SAP. What can SUSE do beyond SAP when we're talking about enterprise Linux?
Sure, yeah, a lot of people think about SUSE as like being like just SLES for SAP, but in fact, that is like one workload for which we have like huge market share, but we have a lot of other um, popular workloads, right? So our main product is just called SUSE Linux Enterprise. And this is like a very flexible, very stable, extremely well supported, very predictable lifetime, like life cycles. Like, so it's very easy to adopt and use it for a long time. But then, it comes with a lot of flexibility. Um, Around managing workloads like databases and web servers and that kind of thing that you would expect. Now, the main thing is, as you may have guessed from the name, it's really we excel in enterprise environments, and by that I mean places that have a lot of compliance needs, right? So if you need certifications, if you need documented L3 support, this kind of thing. We can meet if you have a regulating body that oversees your deployments. We can almost certainly help you meet those requirements.
Yeah, and let's talk about some of the other offerings as well. The one I'm really excited about is Liberty Linux because of what's kind of been
Yeah.
happening lately in this open source environment, and maybe some more proprietary actions taking place. So, what is SUSE doing to
Uh,
help mitigate that?
So Liberty, I think Liberty is a really good example of how SUSE lives its values, especially around choice happens, and also around just like helping like meet customers where they are and like just help them, not try to uh mind them, if that makes sense. So like for example, you bring up Liberty, and so the situation there is like a lot of customers have found like the rug's been pulled out from under them because support for their OSs that they've been running in production like were just like unilaterally curtailed with like a timeline that was like very short. And so they were really faced with this like really difficult choice, like run without security patches or just undergo a costly and risky migration. And that's where Liberty comes in. So what Liberty lets you do is, for example, if you're on CentOS, and that's out of support now, you can uh, run a simple tool with SUSE Manager that'll then bring it back into support. And so then you can avoid that catastrophe of running CentOS in an unsupported way. You can also, while you're at it, like a lot of customers who have adopted Liberty have just found in general that their OS subscription fees have gone down. We have like a big customer um, who's like an airline who found their annual subscription fees went down by 50% while also getting an extended timeline where now they can really plan out their migrations off of these versions of the OS where the like you know life cycle was like really dramatically curtailed for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's pretty amazing how we can support basically any Linux environment out there. Obviously we love it when people use SUSE Linux Enterprise, but if you're using other distributions, you're using multiple workloads, multi-distribution infrastructure, we can support that as well. What are some other ways that SUSE can support those types of environments?
Right. So I think that's like really talking about SUSE Manager.
Mm-hmm.
And SUSE Manager is a tool that basically, you know, I tell people like you just need to accept in your heart that you will be running a mixed Linux estate. Like it's very difficult to get onto a single version of a single Linux in any reasonably sized enterprise. And so SUSE Manager is a tool which supports, right now, I think it's 16 different like Linux versions, and it allows you to manage them actually at scale. So we say it's any Linux, uh, anywhere at any scale. So maybe you're running Linux in your data center, maybe you're running in the cloud, maybe on the edge. You can add all those to SUSE Manager. And we have one customer who's managing over 100,000 instances of different Linux distros with it. So what it does is it like deploys, it applies patches, it automates, it monitors, so really lets you like keep an eye on all of your Linux that's in production and make sure that it's up to date and that the security patches were applied and that the server is running in a healthy way, that it meets your requirement needs. So it's actually a really important tool. Really, we see a couple things. So first of all, in our own data, typically a customer will see a 30 to 60% reduction in just their management costs after adopting SUSE Manager, right? So like they have all these teams that are managing all this Linux, they standardize on SUSE Manager and immediately their costs go down. But there's another really important factor that we see is that um, people in mixed Linux environments often will sort of delay deploying patches and updates, et cetera, because it can be risky if,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't have the knowledge of like every single distro that you're running. And that's bad, right? Because if you like aren't staying up to date, CVEs can build up. There's bugs that are fixed that you haven't applied, et cetera. What we see is like customers, once they adopt SUSE Manager, their rate of patching may go from like literally once a year to once a month, or once every few months to like once a week. And so that increased rate of patching with the decreased costs, like really, and that's across your whole Linux estate, like just provides a huge amount of value. It's a really important tool for enterprises.
That's awesome. I mean, when we talked about at the beginning, like the idea of simplifying and streamlining, SUSE has a lot of offerings that can do that, and that bring that trust and reliability of SAP to your entire enterprise, no matter if you're using our implementations of Linux or other providers' implementations. So it's
Yeah.
really it's that choice happens that's at the core of SUSE. We really do believe in that as a company.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because that is, I think, what I hope, one thing that I hope people take away from any conversation with me is that, we uh, really embrace that choice happens concept, and like we try to innovate by helping customers achieve their goals and achieve their needs in a cost effective way. We don't try to innovate by like forcing people into like a locked ecosystem of just SUSE products. And we feel like we need to earn the right for someone to use our products, rather than that we've set up a situation where they don't really have a choice. So
Yeah,
um, that's one of the things that brought me to SUSE. So
that's great. Yeah, we hate vendor lock-in here. We're
yeah,
against vendor lock-in.
a
Well,
fast way to say it.
yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much, Rick. I really appreciate it. To all our viewers out there, really recommend you go to SUSE.com. You can learn more about our enterprise Linux offerings, SUSE Liberty Linux, SUSE Manager, and all of the offerings that we can provide and support there. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah.